welcome everyone to the final project showcase for our online data science and software engineers. Thank you so much for coming. Super excited to be able to host this event. We have some of our most recent grads from both data science and software engineers. These people have worked so hard to graduate and get to where they are, and they've all built these amazing projects, and I can't wait for you to see what they've been working towards and what they built. Just a couple of things. You have two options to ask questions. You can either put them in the regular Zoom chat, or you can use the question and answer feature to the side. Please ask questions, whether it's about their experience with Flatiron or about their project itself. And you can continue to ask questions. I'm going to keep guiding it and moving it along, but if you have questions for one presenter and a new presenter is going, you can continue to ask questions. And at the end, I promise I will get to all of them as time permitting. So we are going to go ahead and get started. For our first presenter, we have a data science student, or a data science graduate, I should say. Please welcome Katerina Salcedo.
Hello. Let me share my screen. Okay. Cool. So hello everyone and welcome. My name is Katerina Salcedo and I'm presenting my project on lyric generation. Okay, so my goal for this project, I'm super interested in music. I'm always listening to it. And I thought it would be cool to write a song or lyrics for my favorite band. And I chose the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So since I'm not so talented, I chose to instead use machine learning to do it for me. To accomplish this, I use deep learning to generate new song lyrics that match the artist's voice, and also use machine learning to predict the popularity of a song as a way to rate or measure the lyrics that are being generated. So my data set consisted of 118 songs from all 10 of their albums, and it contained song lyrics collected from Lyric Genius lyrics, and also contain audio features that I collected from Spotify, along with the popularity, which ranges from 0 to 100. So the data cleaning was one of the challenges that I faced for this project, because NLP is super confusing to me, and it's like there's not a straight way of doing things, so I was pretty confused. I ended up with around 17,000 words, and 36 of them were being unique. These tokens were then converted to numbers so the computer can understand them. For the audio features, there wasn't much cleaning to do. I just dropped some unnecessary columns like the URI and the track and album. Here are some word clouds of the most common words used throughout all of their albums. These are single words, and the bigrams are 2 words. Here are the most popular songs. All 5 of these were from different albums, and they all scored a 73. For reference, most of their songs scored around a 50 to 65. So 73s were outliers. To generate songs, I used an LSTM network, which is a long short-term memory network. It's a type of recurrent neural network with feedback connections. It's capable of learning order dependencies, which make it good for text generation, since it learns the sentence and line structure and how each word is being arranged to build the next sentences. On the left, you can see how well the model is performing. It's at 49% accuracy right now. And for context, that means that it's 49% accurate at predicting the next word, with 100% accuracy, meaning that the model has memorized the training data, which is not what we want, because we want some like variability to create the different songs. Here are the lyrics that I generated. How it works is I input the first 1 or 2 words and how many words I want it to predict after that, and then it can just output a song for me or part of a song. Then I built for my regression, I used an SGD regressor to predict popularity and audio features given the lyrics. And this is where it's at right now. I used RMSE as my evaluation metric. It's not too good, but mostly because the data set is pretty small. And then in conclusion, so the lyrics that I showed before scored a 54% or scored a popularity of 54, which is kind of what we expected since most of the data was around 50 and 65. Here are some feature importances or the most important words to predicting popularity. Like again, challenges was the NLP, the pre-processing. Also improving the accuracy was kind of hard because of the small data set. So some future work would be to add more data, maybe based on the genre or based on popularity, which should help with overfitting and boosting the accuracy. And also it'd be cool to create a front end for this. Thank you. Here's my information if you have questions.
Thank you so much, Katerina. It's so awesome. Yeah, I will say, and please, again, if you have any questions, keep putting them in the chat at any point. And, please take a screenshot of Katerina's information so that you can contact her at any other time. I love this project so much. Like not being a tech person myself and from a tech background, I would have never thought that you could use data science to do something creative, like create song lyrics with. I think that that's so awesome. So yeah, I mean, how did you even know that you could do that? I guess is my question.
So there was like an example, it was like a text generator. Someone wrote like a speech, a presidential speech, and I thought that would be cool to do something like that, but I'm not really into politics, so I thought it would be cool for to write a song.
Whoa, yeah. A presidential speech. Man, that would be cool if someone did that and then they actually gave it. Okay, we have a question in the chat or in a comment, but hope they perform that on their upcoming tour. Have you reached out to Red Hot Chili Peppers at all?
No.
You totally should.
That's funny.
Awesome. Well, Katerina, thank you so much. Again, everyone, make sure that you have written down her information so that you can reach out. And if you think of any questions moving forward, please feel free to put it in the chat and we will get to it at the end. But thank you again, Katerina. Awesome job.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, we have one more question really quick. So how would you go about composing the music to go with the lyrics? You might be able to answer that question later on in the presentations, but for now, Katerina, go ahead.
I have no idea. So I don't know, they can use the audio features, but they're the artists. So
yeah,
just for the lyrics.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where some group work might come in. Awesome job. Thank you so much. Okay, so we are going to switch over to software engineering. We have one of our newest software engineers in the field. Please welcome Nate Miller.
Hello. All right, let me share. Hey everybody, my name is Nathan Miller. I'm a recent graduate of Flatiron School and I'm a software engineer. I basically wanted to show you my project. As simple as it looks, it's actually not. And there's a lot that kind of goes into actually building an SPA or a single page application. Basically a quick background of what it is. I don't have like a fancy slide or anything like that, but my site's called Neutral Punch. Basically, I'm a lover of fighting games and I'm a lover of fitness. in my prior project for Ruby, I built a website that basically would collect, not collect, but yeah, I guess so, collect gamers and fitness enthusiasts under one roof and basically make a platform. So if anyone's familiar with sites like Event Hub, Test Your Might, things like that, it kind of allows people to kind of collaborate, and, you know, create a certain type of group dynamic that allows specifically fighting game enthusiasts to kind of come together as a group. So what I thought, since gamers are very sedentary and since gamers are very, I guess I don't want to say unhealthy, but live kind of unhealthy lives, I kind of want to allow them to kind of be able to work together with fitness enthusiasts and have those fitness enthusiasts also work with gamers, because I know there are a lot of people in fitness that enjoy gaming. Now that's the big overall of my project, but I took a small portion of that and I kind of wanted to focus on more of the review part, because it was also more of a review-based website, right? So basically this is Neutral Punch. Also, I forgot to mention, it has a Ruby backend with a React Redux front, right? So basically I have an About Us page. It will link you to like my GitHub and my Medium if you guys ever want to check that out. I'll plug that for you if you guys really want to. Basically when you go in, it has a bunch of cards, and these cards are basically focused on certain fighting games. So with each fighting game, you could either click on the card, right, by name, right, or you can go back to the game page and search it up. So if you want to look up like Virtua Fighter, it brings up the Virtua Fighter. I like Virtua Fighter a lot, so I could like it. I can give it a bunch of likes. I can manipulate it if I want to. When I go into Virtua Fighter, you can make your own comments. You could write your own reviews, right? So I could say like, howdy doody, and then put like, I like gaming. You can create a review. The review is active, so it pops up, and basically what it has is like a like button as well. So basically like any modern application, the like buttons are like a big thing. So you can like me, right? I don't like that he said I like games, right? So I could just fix it to like, I like games. All right, update the review. If I don't want that review anymore, I could just delete it, and it's an active deletion. It basically works overall for all the gaming, all the gaming cards in here. So I could literally write as many things as I want to in here, and I can create as much as I'd like. But that's something that I just chose to do. I can manipulate it to where I don't have it and it doesn't persist as much, but it's easily clickable, and I could just erase it as fast as I've made it. Right. Beyond that, there isn't much else that I have here. Like I said, it's very, very complex and very, very complicated. I do like to leave these open, and for any current students or students enrolling, there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes on in the front and the back end. This is basically a front end, and it's kind of an overview of how you get a game page to work, how you get like the game page to work, how you allow everything to kind of be displayed onto the page. And during code interviews or during like your assessments, they do these things where they kind of make you kind of touch up your project. And so basically for my assessment, I had to kind of add a search bar, and that search bar actually helped me kind of not only build on my project, but just make it look better overall, and kind of just allowed it to, you know, give it a little bit of flair. But beyond that, that's me. That's Nathan Miller. I'm a game head. I'm a fitness enthusiast, and you could check out my GitHub, my LinkedIn, and my email if you want to contact me. I'm always open to talk, and I'm always open to kind of discuss anything you want to talk about. Thank you for your time.
Yay, thank you, Nate. Awesome job. I love this. We have a couple, I mean, one just, you know, current full stack student here. This is amazing. Great job. In the meantime, also don't forget, everyone in attendance, make sure that you write down this information, take a screenshot, whatever, so that you can reach out to Nate and collaborate, work together, ask questions, and keep your questions coming for any of the participants. Just gonna keep reminding you of that. So we have like a great job. This is amazing. And then a question, is this list of games dynamically seeded from an outside source, or is it set in stone?
It's seeded in a backend for Ruby. So basically, if I wanted to, what I did for my other project, you can create like a login function. And what you could do is you could create an administrator. And basically, as an administrator, you could either allow your project to be, as an administrator, I can actively put in the game that I want, right? Or I could do it in the outside from my backend and just seed it in. So if I wanted to add something like, I don't know, I don't know, whatever game you could think of, right? You could just put that back in the seed and all the information will actually pop into the card. And since the cards are here, that's what this image URL is. Basically, it takes from the back end of the seed, it plops it in as soon as I put a image URL back in my back end. It'll take that card and display it on here. So any game that you want, you could either put it through a seed, or if you really want to get funky, you can create an admin and then have the admin be able to dynamically add them in without putting it into the back end. How many models did I create for this?
Oh, sorry. I would just realize that I was muted and I totally just asked
No.
that question in my living room with no one being able to hear me. So yeah, how many models did you create for this application?
How many models? I only have 2 models. I just have a game and a review, but for my other ones, I had multiple models.
Okay, great. And then last question, is there any comment moderation through validations?
No, but you could if you wanted to. I just gave anyone the ability to kind of do whatever they wanted. But if I really wanted to get crazy, I could add an OAuth in here, create a Google login, and then you have your own particular ones. And then from that, you could also have an administrator. And I usually put the administrators as the ones that are moderating. So there's only moderation through one person, not a multitude of people.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nate. Again, remember to write down his information, and you can reach out and ask him more questions. You can also, if you think of any more questions, just continue to put them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end. But thank you so much, Nate. Awesome job. Okay. So we are sticking with software engineering and we are going to a wonderful person, Luis Castillo. Please welcome him. Thank you so much for joining, Luis.
Okay, just give me a second. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, my name is Luis Castillo, and today I'm gonna present my MLB app. I just recently graduated as a software engineer. So my application was built on MLB, and I created MLB voting app. When I'm not coding, what I'm doing? Basically, when I'm not spending time building my skill, one of the things that I spend a lot of times when I have some time off from programming, I spend a lot of time with my daughter at 2 years old that I have, and I spend a lot of time with her, trying to be there every moment as a father and be present every moment in her life. Okay, problem to solve. The idea of my application, it came out, I'm a baseball fan, so I watch baseball, and I think I see things that I don't think it is right. So, and this is when they comparing 2 players, for example, who's the MVP of the AL, the American League, or the National League. You know, MLB had this function where they have their own people, like people they have, and those people they vote for those players. And I believe that these people don't know too much about baseball. They just read about baseball, but they really don't have the hands on it, how baseball it is. And when you're a baseball fan, you really know how baseball it is. So my application, it solve these problems where community, they can come and vote and raise their voice to say who's the best. Let me go ahead and show you my app, how it is. So this is my from page of my application. It is MLB voting app. So we'll basically say welcome to MLB voting app. This it lets you, creates you polls and add players to those polls, and you will be able to vote for each individual players for any polls that we have. So I had four links here, which is the polls. In the poll sections, you are able to create questions. For example, I had two polls over here. For example, American League MVP. Anyone is a baseball fans, know they was voting who was the best one, which is Shohani and Vladimir Guerrero. In my applications, you can come and vote for whoever you want, and basically as you hit vote, you can create multiple votes for each individual players. These are for the MLB, the American League, and then for the National League. So based on whoever have most votes, you'll be able to see who's the best player. You can also, in my top players, I have a function where you can see pictures of top players of MLB. And I have also a feature where you can filter the players by the way you want it. For example, if I type B, it will show me any player that has the letter V, Salvador Perez, Vladimir Guerrero. And if you go back, you can go and see all the players. I also have an app and about that talk about how baseball is in history. This is basically how is my app. Go back to the technology that I use in my application, it was React.js, React Route, Rails, API in the backend, Redux to manage the store. I had also used SQL for the database, and I also use style component to style how I wanted to verify my application. Challenge that I had in my application, it was, so yeah, see when I was clicking votes for each individual players. So there was an issue that I was having and I was struggling when I hit vote. The actual count, it was happening, but it was not updating on my state, which is the store. It basically was doing it in the back end. So I had to go to my reducer and do some debugging and find out why it wasn't happening. So I spent a lot of time where I need to find out that it was nested with the way I set it up in my backend. So I spent time, then I was able to grab it and find out that issue. But that was one of the challenges that I was having and was able to do it. What's next? So my application, as you see, is a voting app. And if you have noticed, a user can make multiple votes. It's nonstop. So my next features that I want to do is adding authentications, which is adding user login, and also for each individual player, a graphic chart where you can see in graphic which one is up or better. And also I'm planning to deploy my application to a server. The database that I have is SQL Lite. Majority of these hosting part, they don't take SQL. So I'm gonna transition to PostgreSQL so I can be able to deploy my application. Where to find me? These are my informations. I have put here my GitHub, my LinkedIn, email, and Twitter account. I'm really active on my social media. So anyone who wants to ask me any questions, want to know about me, if you need help, please reach out. These are my informations. Anyone I will be able to answer, and you will be able to get in touch with me. Thank you.
Awesome, Louis. Thank you so much. Amazing job. Everyone, make sure that you definitely take a picture of Louis's information so that you can reach out to him. I will say that I had the privilege to work with Louis throughout his program, and he's one of the hardest working people I know. So definitely you want to reach out to him and work with him, and you want him on your team if you're building a project and you want to have a group member or something or anything. And if you have any questions, please continue to put them in the chat. Louis, I do have a question. Knowing now that SQL can't be like hosted to a server like Heroku or something like that, would you have used something different to begin with, or was there a reason that you used SQL instead of like Postgres?
So since there's the structure that I did in my GitHub where I'm setting up my front end and back end in one repo, so I will not be able to deploy my application with two technology like that, like React in the front and then Rails in the back end at the same time. So since I want to be able to do my project like this, I was basically on my path of been doing my project like that. So whenever I'm ready and to change to PostgreSQL, I need to separate my front end and back end as a different repo.
Awesome, thank you. Again, any more questions for Louis, please feel free to put them in the chat. And yeah, just at any point, continue to put them in. But in the meantime, thank you, Louis, so much for coming and presenting. Awesome, I love this. Have you done MLB or baseball projects throughout the entire curriculum?
I could tell you I'm a really fan.
I know.
That I did all my project based on baseball and MLB. So basically baseball was my dream when I was a teenager. So I could say it is in my blood. So I bring it into to programming because I think I'm capable to say what I could fix and what I could be done in different in MLB, because I've been playing and I know about baseball since I was little. So I really know about a lot about baseball, and I think I'm able to just say, what it could be changed and what it will be better in the future for MLB as well.
Awesome. Okay, we did have a couple of questions come in. So great job. How long did it take you to get your CSS skills up? Because they think that their CSS needs a lot of work.
Well, look, stack component, this is basically the one that I use. It is a popular one. When I was able to come up and decide which one I was gonna use, I was debating. At the time when I was trying to find out which one I was gonna use, I didn't know about them. So I could say I learned it within one day, because style component allow you to basically plug in CSS, regular CSS. And the beauty of style components is that when you create one style, you are able to use it in multiple areas. For example, if you notice that green button, I only need to build it one time, and I'll be able to use it in different buttons.
Awesome. Okay, so style components your best friend for CSS.
Yeah.
Okay, and one more. How would you expand the number of players? Would you pay for an outside API like baseball reference?
Say that again, that question?
Sorry. How would you expand the number of players? Would you pay for an outside API like baseball reference or something like that?
I would say no. If I just want to just display just the baseball players, there is one API that is free that I also use in one of my projects in my CLI. I will Google it. If y'all want me to send it to y'all, hit me up on those contact that I have, and I can help you. But I wouldn't pay for it because there's one free and it's being updated, and you can get it. I use it in my CLI where I was able to display all the players from the Yankees, and I got a lot of information from there. I wouldn't pay. Um, but if you want like images, really data up to date instantly, if you want to go that route, yes, I would say you can pay for it.
Awesome. Thank you, Louis, so much. We did have one more question in the chat, but Sherry, I'm gonna ask you to reach out to Louis because then he can send you the free one instead of doing it here. So just take a picture of his contact information, reach out to him, and he'll definitely send you the link. Thank you, Louis. I appreciate it so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're going back to data science now. So please welcome our most recent data science graduate, Nick Gelati.
Hey, I'm Nick Gelati. Hold on, let me pull up my presentation here. All right, so I'm a data scientist and also a small e-commerce business owner. My business is called Wretched Relics. My final project was an Amazon product classifier, and it was kind of inspired by my experience with e-commerce. So a product classifier is good for rapidly integrating new products into the existing classification system, like in this case, Amazon's product classification system. And it's also good for flagging misclassified products. So the data set I worked with was a data set of about 15 million Amazon products, which is kind of unmanageably large for me. So the first challenge was to reduce that to a more manageable size. And the data set was scraped in 2018. There are 36 classes, Amazon's main categories, and that's what this graph here is on the right. And as you can see, they're imbalanced. They're not evenly distributed. So I needed to engineer the perfect corpus for building this model for classifying products. It's a text classifier, by the way, if that wasn't clear already. So I dropped the shortest 50% of descriptions and I threw out the long outliers because the really long ones were weird. And I selected only the top brands in each category. And then I did some pretty severe pre-processing and some feature engineering. I constructed multi-word brand terms and added that to the text. And I also extracted bigrams, which are 2-word phrases from each category, and I put those in the text. The modeling methods I used were a binary version of TF-IDF vectorization, which I can explain in more detail if anyone wants to ask about it. And the classifier I used was a linear support vector machine, which is a conventional machine learning algorithm. And this picture on the right is kind of a simplified diagram for explaining how that works. But for the sake of time, I'm going to kind of gloss over that. It used SGD, stochastic gradient descent optimization, which is important because that's what allowed me to train this on a data set of 1 million products. But anyway, if anyone wants to ask more about the technical stuff, I'd be happy to talk more about it. So the final model was 97% accurate, which means that it's correct 97% of the time. It does well on small classes and large ones. The best classes, it gets 100% accuracy. This over here is a confusion matrix, which allows you to kind of see how well the model performs on every different category. The worst was portable audio and accessories, which was 68%, had 68% recall. And That's because it was confusing. It confuses that with cell phones, GPS, and computers, which is understandable, I guess. They seem pretty similar. So I'm going to kind of quickly show you my demo app that I made. If I can get it to open. All right, so this is a little demo app that lets you play around with the classifier on a different data set, a data set that, you know, it's never seen before. It's a data set from Walmart, in fact, from 2019, completely different data, just to see for yourself kind of how good it is. And you can select a random product. This is the data that it's going to use, this text data. And then you hit classify. And so this one, we're in the pets category from Walmart. This is the product description, the category information, the brand. And so it classified that in Amazon's pet supplies category, which is what I would have expected. And this word cloud here shows you which terms were the most important for this classification decision. And in this case, dog, pet, dog, cat, chest girth, you know, pet related terms. And if you think that it's too easy to have this category information in there, you can delete that. You can actually just delete all of this and then try it again. And I bet it's, yep, still pet supplies, because there's quite a lot in this description. So anyway, it's just cool to play around with this on a completely new data set to see how good the model is in practice, or how it would be in practice. So back to the presentation. So some things I would like to try in the future or work on is I would like to try training a neural network on the data set, because neural networks scale really well with large amounts of data. But it's probably not really necessary, because this one already turned out to be pretty good, this linear SVM. And I would also create specialized subcategory models for each major category, because Amazon has thousands of subcategories, which I haven't really addressed with this model. And that's it. This is my contact information, my GitHub and LinkedIn, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Awesome, Nick. Thank you so much. Yeah, make sure that you take a screenshot of this information and reach out. Very impressive. I will say that when I met with Nick the first time to like hear about his project and get the run through, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm totally lost, because you use so many technical words, which is amazing because it just shows how much he learned during the program. But as a non-technical person, I was like, I have no idea what you just said. So really impressive work, learning all of that. Amazing job. I have a couple of questions. What did you use to connect the front end with the model you created?
Okay, so the demo app that I was showing you, that was made using Streamlit, which is kind of a rapid dashboarding framework for Python. It works pretty well, and they let you host apps on their website, which is nice.
Awesome. Is there a website URL?
Oh yeah, you mean for the app?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can give you that real quick.
Awesome.
It's right here.
Cool. And then while you do that, another question, can you use this to test if a description is good enough when you're creating it? So like if it goes into the right category?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So can you use this to test if a description is good enough? So like, does it go into the right category that you want it to go into, stuff like that?
Could you use it to test if a description was good enough? Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting use case that I hadn't really thought of. So like you're writing a description for a product and you want to know whether this description is going to land it in a certain category.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you could do that. And I guess I could see how that would be useful if you were trying to kind of stack your description with certain keywords in order to get it to go to a certain category, or in a slightly different situation, if you were doing that in order to get it to show up at the top of like some search results or something. that would be kind of a related thing. But yeah, you could use it for that.
Awesome. Well, Nick, thank you so much. Great job. Make sure everyone reach out to Nick. And if you have any further questions, you can continue to put them in the chat and we will get to them at the end. But thank you.
Right.
Okay, so we have our final presenter with us tonight is a software engineer grad. Please welcome Raquel Roman Rodriguez.
Sorry, I have too many monitors and I got lost on my screens here.
It happens to me all the time with one monitor, so you're ahead of me.
All right, do we all see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. There we go. All right, so this is, I'm a software engineering student and this is my presentation, graduate actually, and this is my presentation motif. It's a studio management app for music teachers and students. So a little bit about me is that I am a professional singer and I am a former academic. So I used to be the director of vocal studies at a small liberal arts college. That's me conducting my 60-person choir. And I've also taught voice lessons since 2014. At my peak, I had 50 voice lessons a week. And I'm now a software engineer. And that will help explain kind of the idea for my application. So in handling my studio each week, navigating the challenges that come with scheduling and all that, like office work, is frustrating and time consuming. And on top of it, when you have students that forget that they have a lesson or need to do a makeup or cancel last minute and you don't accept that in your studio policy, that can all be both emotionally and literally time draining. And so using an application to help you manage some of those difficulties is, in my mind, a good thing. And I was interested in creating my own version of that because I used an application already that did something similar for that. And approaching my capstone, I really was interested in doing something that kind of would replace that and let me have control over how the application worked. And I also was just really interested in the scale of the application as my capstone. And so I built this app. It's going to list all the technologies here. I am going to go through them more in detail as I walk through the app demo. But here's a list of all of them. The highlights, I think, are that we're running a React JavaScript front end and a Ruby on Rails backend, and lots of useful and interesting NPM packages and Ruby gems that I highly recommend that you check out. But let's go ahead and take a look at the demo of the application. So this is my landing page. It's pretty basic. You can sign up or you can sign in. Let's sign in with our fake teacher account. And when we log in, we'll be greeted with a dashboard. It's going to give us a summary of our day. We see a schedule here. If we click through, we can see, oh, looks like we don't teach any lessons on Tuesdays, but on Thursdays we do. We also can see when our next scheduled event is, how many active students we have, and a summary of our studio here. We can update our profile, change our settings, and this is where some of those studio policies come in. So what are your cancellation policies? Do you let students cancel lessons? At what point do they have to notify you that they're canceling lessons? Do you allow students to do makeup credits, or are there no makeups? And changing these settings changes how students can interact with their scheduled lesson times on the student side. And then also some preferences regarding just how you view the application. How do you want to see the calendar? Do you teach on weekends? Because if not, you probably don't need to see the weekends on your calendar. All things like that. And then On the students page, we see a list of our students. We can sort them by their status, whether or not they're active, or if you want to see what our trial student, maybe they're ready to move to be an active student. And so we'll see they move from there. I also implemented Draft.js, which lets you use rich text in the body. So we can be like, hello, and then make it bold, and we can send this as an email to a student. And we can, of course, create new students and add them to our studio. And then, of course, the scheduling aspect of it. So it's pretty normal for a student to have a consistent weekly repeating lesson. And so we can set that up and say, oh, Nicole's default lesson is going to be, she's always going to have a lesson on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. And I'm going to do the regular event price that I usually do and the 30-minute long lesson, and hit save. And what that's going to do is it's going to add Nicole's lesson recurring every week from here on out. Now, we also can see that, oh, James Casper's lesson, we're probably not teaching that lesson on Thanksgiving, right? So we can go into it and delete it. And because it's a recurring event, it's going to ask how we want to interact with that. We can hit just delete that one. His other lessons are still there, but the one on Thanksgiving is gone. Users can change how they're viewing the week, and they can make that their preference for always. And users can also change the event color. If you want your lessons to always be aqua, then now your lessons will always be aqua. My goodness, that's vibrant. So that is about the extent of Motif. I'd like to eventually add invoicing and billing with the Stripe API to be able to bill students for their lessons, but for now it's not there yet. And let's see, some other challenges that I faced were the different models of users, because there's a teacher, a student, and a parent model. Teachers need to be able to create students and parents, but if you're a piano teacher and you teach 5-year-olds, they may not have an email address. And so how can you create you probably don't need a user for your 5-year-old piano student. And so it took me a long time to figure out, how do I do this? And what I ended up with was a user model, and there's a teacher profile, a student profile, and a parent profile that can belong to a user model. And so a teacher, when they create a new student, they're creating a student profile. And then thanks to the device Invitable Gym, the teacher can later on invite the student to join as a user. And at that point, it instantiates a user model that's associated with the email address that the teacher has saved with that student. And that ended up being the best solution for me. And then the recurring events, there was a simple event recurrence rule with full calendar, which is the NPM package I used for my calendar model, or the calendar rendering. And it didn't allow you to do things like delete the event on Thanksgiving. It created one instance of an event that recurred every week. I needed something more dynamic than that. And so I created something on the back end that creates new events using active job and does that programmatically so that they're each new instances and they belong to the same recurring event model as like a parent. So some future plans, again, invoicing, optimizing event recurrence. So I know that code could be cleaner and better, so that I would love to work on that. I want to add text reminders to be able to send to students and parents for lessons. And then I would love to refactor my Redux Toolkit query logic, because I didn't lean on the like built-in data caching. And now that I have a better sense of how that works, I think that the application could be better using that. So that is my application. So any questions? And there's my contact information. And yeah.
Awesome job, Raquel. Love this so much. Yeah, very clean. Agreed, Jill. Okay, so some questions. Can you link the calendar to a Google Calendar or other calendars you're using for your other tasks and meetings? Good question.
Yes, as far as I understand, in the full calendar like documentation, they have stuff built in for that. I can't remember if that feature is a premium only feature for the NPM package, but if that's something that you're interested in, I highly recommend. Their documentation is really thorough. So if you're ever thinking about using a calendar in an app, check out full calendar.
Awesome. Okay, what did you use to change the events color?
Oh, so all that is there is a settings model that belongs to the user model, and there's a lesson color setting, and it just stores a string of the hex code, and that is the native browser's color picker. So if you create in HTML, if you create an input element and set it to type color, that is actually from the browser. It's built into the browser. And so it's actually really, really easy and simple to do, but it looks pretty sleek, right?
Yeah, I heard there was a yay aqua lessons in the chat before.
Yeah.
Okay, so this question, I'm not exactly sure, but what about alerts and notifications? I don't know if that's asking if there is any or.
Yeah, like as far as maybe like sending emails or
Maybe.
alerts and notifications for lessons. Right now I have it set up to be able to send email reminders to students and parents, and I'd like to implement text. If you're talking about alerts and notifications within the application, I haven't built anything like that for it, mostly because any notifications would happen in the email aspect. Like the email is coming to your email inbox and not necessarily within the context of Motif. And so I haven't considered doing that, but it could be a good idea.
Awesome. What did you mean by data caching?
Yeah, the way that it's when you're storing your data from, like, you're fetching your data and storing it in your Redux store, and then you're doing updates to that data. So you're changing events and things like that. It reduces the amount of like effort that the application is exerting to update whatever you have stored, because you already have it. That item didn't change. It's been cached. And so that is built into Redux Toolkit query to kind of simplify that and not have to write so much Redux boilerplate. And honestly, it kind of hurt my head learning about it. But now that I like figured out what it was doing, I feel like the last like 3 days of working on this project like fully, and now I'm like, oh yeah, that would be really helpful. So it just keeps you from having to write so much boilerplate with your Redux.
Awesome. Okay, and last question, any incorporation of lesson notes, text or audio?
Yeah, that is a great further build on it. It's I think that's a great idea. I've used something else similar in the past, and that's a good long-term goal to add. I appreciate that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, and I have one more question, because for people in the audience that don't know, like, this was above and beyond what the requirements were for this is not an MVP, right? The most viable product. This is, you went above and beyond, right? So like, how much of this did you have to kind of go out and seek and learn on your own that wasn't included in the curriculum?
I would say maybe like 80% of the project was things that I did outside of the like curriculum, because a lot of it is like learning NPM packages and like reading their documentation, and then like learning about how to use active job, or learning how to use like different serializers aside from active model serializer. So I would say a good amount of this is kind of beyond maybe just like the standard curriculum. But I felt like because there was in my cohort in phase 5, there wasn't any new curriculum. It was just you had all of phase 5 to do your capstone. I felt like that was the time for me to really headlong explore what was out there. So it's a lot. Yeah.
I love that. And you know, that like to say you have all of phase 5, but that's really only how many weeks?
Sorry, say again. Sorry, I was reading a question in the question
No,
and
it's
answer.
okay. It's okay. I was just highlighting that, like, you know, you said you had all in your cohort, you had all of phase 5, but like, I want to highlight that phase 5 is how many weeks?
Oh yeah, it's 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Though I think I didn't like assess with my cohort lead until like 4.5, you know, like
Yeah.
I was pushing the 4.
Yeah. Well, still though, learning 80% new material in 4 weeks to build this project is impressive.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, we are out of time for questions. These are good questions and I want you to be able to get them answered. Please take a screenshot or write down Raquel's information so that you can reach out and ask these questions. Sorry that we weren't able to get to them. But I really want to say thank you to all of the panelists. I mean, what amazing hard work that you've all done. And it's such an accomplishment that you have learned all of this in such a short amount of time. And really excited to see what you're doing in the future. Everyone make sure that you reach out and, you know, work with these people or get information and keep in touch with them because they're going to all do amazing things. I just know it. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you panelists again. Have a great night and we'll see you next time. Bye.